Hello and welcome back to the DeCesare Group Podcast. I'm your host, Jim DeCesare. You know, the podcast is a companion to our newsletter, Soki Economic Development and Business News, which you can subscribe to on our website, thedecesaregroup.com. It'll hit your inbox every Monday morning. You know, here on the DeCesare Group Podcast, we talk a lot about best business practices, having a positive culture in the workplace, and how to maximize human potential. Today, we're getting a closer look at workforce issues from a human resources perspective. Our guest has his finger on the pulse of workplace matters. John Oliver is the head of human resources at Vybond, formerly known as Berry Plastics in Franklin, Kentucky. But John is also the president of the Mid-South SHRM chapter, an affiliate of the Society for Human Resource Management based in Franklin. The local chapter was chartered in 2002, creating a network of human resource professionals and those interested in the human resource profession. Globally, SHRM is a member-driven catalyst for creating better workplace where people and businesses thrive together and has nearly 340,000 members in 180 countries. It's truly the go-to for HR leaders and businesses on workforce matters. Here's my conversation with John Oliver. Hey, John, thanks for being on the DeCesare Group Podcast.
Hey, Jim, how are you?
I'm great. It's good to see you. Hey, tell us a little bit about the Society for Human Resource Management, better known as SHRM, and the role you play in the Mid-South chapter.
Yeah, so SHRM stands for Society of Human Resource Management. It's the world's largest HR professional organization, providing different resources in relations to certifications, advocacy for HR professionals across different industries.
I got you.
And I'm with Mid-South SHRM, which is out of Franklin, Simpson County, and I'm the president of the chapter.
So who all makes up the Mid-South SHRM? Is it just Simpson County industries, or do you have industries from other areas as well?
We have industries from the surrounding area, so anywhere from Portland, Tennessee, out to Scottsville, and we're supporting all the HR professionals within the surrounding areas. So.
That's fantastic. So, you know, human resources, obviously that's the biggest expenditure any company has. So you're kind of a very important role with any industry, whether it's a law firm or at a manufacturing facility. So talk a little bit about some of the things that's required of an HR professional.
Yes. So in HR, you know, we're tied between the business, tied between supporting and advocating for the employees, and so it's a lot that's tied into it. So anything from hiring, retention, workforce development planning, strategizing for making sure, you know, we have the right people in the right places. So succession planning, talent management, a lot of fun things, exciting things, and just making sure we're continuing to drive what the business needs.
Yeah. And a lot of times you are the gatekeeper for outside entities looking to get in, whether it could be a vendor or, you know, someone that wants to try and do work with a particular company. Why is that a lot of times?
So just, you know, from that perspective, Jim, when, you know, there's a lot of organizations that are interested in trying to provide a solution to the organization. That could be from a staffing perspective. It could be from a training and development, succession planning perspective. So there's a lot of opportunities. So really, you know, I think that everybody has something. Everybody's got a problem. Everybody's got a solution. Yeah. And so just making sure that we're, you know, as HR professionals, we're driving and guiding, bringing in the right resources to bring the right solutions to whatever the business needs.
And so when we hear the term human resource manager, or you're going to HR, it's not just the hiring and managing the personnel that work for the company, but it's also at times, not always, managing vendors and suppliers and other entities that do business with that particular entity. Is that correct?
That is correct. And, you know, interesting, we have so many different things that come across our desks, right?
Sure.
It's anything from, oh, well, this supplier did this, or these employees are impacted because our supplier had this impact on us, and then it negatively impacts the business, right? And so how do we continue to drive what we want and making sure we're still supporting the business leaders to get what we need to resolve and continue to drive what keeps the business going, right? Which is making money. So
I mean, at the end of the day, all businesses are in business to show a profit.
Yes.
Now sometimes it might not be a lot of profit, but and if you're not showing a profit, obviously you're doing something wrong.
Correct.
You talked a little bit about how the Mid-South SHRM brings people together to in the HR profession, but also works on training. So talk about some of the training initiatives that happen with SHRM.
Yes, so we have some key initiatives, and it's really around making sure we're continuing to offer professional development, that continuous learning. I think that that's what helps the human resources function continue to thrive, continue to elevate and advance, right? And so even as a part of the SHRM credentialing and things like that. So there are some pillars in relations to those credentialing around continuing to advance the HR profession. Mm-hmm. So what we offer is anything from, tactical to strategic training and development opportunities for HR professionals continue to advance and learn and grow and develop. And all of our members they come to us and they have some different need of some sort. And so that could be anything from, how do I deal with this challenge that I'm facing, and what tools do you all have available that you can provide me? And so we have free sessions that they come to as a part of the membership dues, and there's vendors or suppliers or these resources that these companies or I would call them, I would say not really companies, but they're training and development, and there's lecturers,
education resources.
Yes, educational resources, and they want to come and educate our population of folks, right? So that's a part of what they're doing, and so they get in front of me, or they'll reach out to our membership team, they'll reach out to our programming team, and we get them in if they align with what we want for our population of people, and we get that training and development that continues to help our HR professionals.
This tells you how much I know about what all you do, or what's required of what all you do. So are there certain certifications and things that you need to be an HR professional, or like if you're a realtor, you can get all these different initials after your name. Is that the same with HR professionals, and then it gives you more accreditation and more credibility as well?
Correct. Yes. So there's the big popular, the main ones right now that's high up in the industry is the SHRM CP, which is a Society of Human Resource Management Certified Professional, and the SHRM SCP, which is the Senior Certified Professional. So you'll see a lot of people that have those credentialing behind their names.
So now we know what those initials mean.
Yes. And so that you've gone through kind of this 4-hour extensive exam, just talking about anything from regulatory and compliance things, and it's a lengthy test. Not a lot of HR professionals pass it because it is challenging. And then there's the PHR, SPHR. Those are also similar to the certified professional, just continue to give you that credentialing.
I got you. So you mentioned earlier workforce development. And I think we all know that I think, and you correct me if I'm wrong, it appears that we have a systemic problem within the U.S., not just here, but it's around the country.
Yes.
I was reading a study from last summer from a professor at one of the universities in Louisiana, and it showed that the biggest population of individuals that have been the slowest to get back into the workforce since COVID are males 18 to 35. Are you seeing trends like that?
Well, I'm in manufacturing, Jim. So we see people who are interested in coming to work, making money around that age, right?
Yeah.
A lot of our new entrants that are coming into our workforce are the younger generation that's trying to get a job, that's getting out of fast food, but now they're old enough to work in a manufacturing setting and gain some key skills and technical skills.
Right.
So I would say that, from that perspective, I think there's probably some truth to that, right?
Yeah.
But then it depends on the sector of business that you're in. Maybe not in a professional setting. You're not seeing a lot of anywhere between 18 to 35 going to work in a bank or things like that. But in manufacturing, we're seeing them.
You're still doing good. And then it was interesting. The study showed that of those individuals, a majority of them still live with a family member, typically a parent. And the number one thing that they do in their while they're at home not working is playing video games. And only of those individuals, only 10% are able to monetize it in any way, shape, or form. But where I'm heading with this is that we talk about employment rates a lot of time. I'm a big proponent of following the participation rate. Yes. And right now in Kentucky, for example, we are just now getting back to where we were before the pandemic. So it's taken us 5 years to get our workforce back to where it was before the pandemic.
Yes.
That's somewhat disturbing to me,
Mm-hmm.
that we have those types of workforce issues, and especially with all the new activity that's going on, especially in the Southeast. Kentucky is a lot of good economic activity is going on, and of course that takes workforce.
Yes.
And then the other issue that I learned from this report is that we have a lot of women leaving the workforce because it's more cost effective for them to stay at home than pay childcare.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you have a dual income family.
Yes.
It makes it a little easier. But are you seeing things like that? Is childcare a big issue in what you do?
Yes. So I think childcare, I think a lot of organizations over time since COVID have realized that there's a level of flexibility we have to offer. Manufacturing is a bit more challenging, right?
Sure.
Because you still have to provide.
You can't make tape from remotely.
That's right.
You?
That's right. No, you can't. So we can't bring the machines to your homes.
Right.
So we still have to continue to run our business, and we have some more stricter lines within. But over time, I think we still realize that hey, there's some flexibility that has to happen.
Yeah.
But we do realize that COVID has caused a lot of shifts, right? I remember being in the thick of COVID, trying to create new policies and processes and trying to deal with the turnover that was happening constantly because people are like, okay, well, you got issues with people who don't want to wear masks in the workplace. And it's like, okay, well, it's a requirement across the world right now, And so, and then you got people who are like, look, life is changing. Life is short. People have come to realization that, if I have the ability to spend time, maybe we cut off on some of the other expenses we have so that, my significant other can work from home, then that's what people realized. And so I would say that you've seen a great deal of people who are like, oh, I can make money off of gaming.
Yeah.
I can make money off of being a content creator. And a lot of people have done great things by doing that.
Sure.
I was watching a video.
That's part of our business model.
Yes. I was watching a video recently, a kid, 21 years old. He's a millionaire off of being a content creator.
Mm-hmm.
So it's possible. Now, as you know, it's like trying to join into the music industry. It's a scarcity of people who actually get to that point. But I agree with some of those numbers. But I think in actuality, I think we're getting back to a place where, we're looking at data from my perspective of pre-COVID to now where we're at.
Yeah.
And how bad off are we when we're looking at attrition or retention and making sure that we're driving the right initiatives to be a good community citizen, right? A partner, continue to drive our business, but continue to be a place where people want to come and work.
Yeah. Fantastic. So what are some of the biggest workforce issues you're seeing right now? I mean, I'm sure there's some trends out there.
Oh, absolutely. So, right now there are so many different generations in the workforce.
Yeah.
And all
about
of them,
7?
Yes. And all of them have different needs, right? Yeah. And then you there's a phase of the generations that are leaving the workforce today, mm-hmm. right? And so I think one of our biggest challenges is around that succession planning, that talent management, making sure that there's some skills that are being transferred over to the newer incoming employees that are coming into the workforce.
Sharing that institutional knowledge.
Correct. Because what you're seeing now, Jim, is that there's a lot of people exiting the workforce with a lot of great skills, insights, and experiences that they're not sharing, that sometimes weren't even documented, right? Because they just knew it so well, right?
Yeah. And done it for so long.
And have done it so long. So it's our responsibility to make sure that we're getting that right mentorship or sponsorship to make sure that there's some skills that are being transferred down to the newer engineers. I give an example, right? We're noticing a lack of engineers in our workspace that has that specialized skill. So now we are trying to make sure we're either bringing our old engineers in as contractors to help share some of that knowledge that left, right? And so that I say that, making sure that we're focusing on workforce planning, getting the right succession, getting the right transferable skills, upskilling and reskilling is key.
Yeah.
Right. You have people who are maybe interested in maintenance. We're seeing a lot of shortages in the maintenance space.
Sure.
And so making sure that you're utilizing your current population to upskill, maybe gain these technical skills. If you could send them off to a technical college, get some of that, and then also correlate that with the work that they're doing can help really set you up for success. So I say there's a lot of challenges there. And then the constant attrition and turnover that we're trying to fight and make sure we manage. But when I look at, attrition and turnover, I put that into the perspective of retention and engagement. Yeah. And so how much can we retain our employees by the engagement that we provide across our business?
So talking about the losing the institutional knowledge, for lack of a better term, are you all seeing more mentorship programs come into play within the workforce, especially, sharing that knowledge, cross-training on different roles? I know that the Japanese are in their industries, they're big on that, on the cross training and making sure that you know kind of how to do every job within the building. What are you seeing trends there?
Trends wise, I think we're seeing a lot of cross training. That's been, I think, now more than ever on the forefront of a lot of organizations, just trying to make sure that we have that knowledge transferred, that we have the ability to flex people to different areas so that we can continue to operate and run the businesses. And I think that that's going to be key and going to continue to be key as we're moving into the years to come.
You just triggered a question. You said flex people. Are those individuals that sort of have flexible schedules, or explain that?
Yes. When I think about flexing, I'm thinking of it in the frame of mind that is more aligned with, hey, I know this machine, but I also know this machine. Yeah. And so not really a variable of hours, but sometimes it does lead to that. Hey, Jim, could you come in on Saturday? I really need your help with getting this machine up and running, blah, 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 and running for 4 or 5 hours, right? And thinking that I can lean on this person to help keep the things moving. So there's a lot of that. The more the more opportunities you have within an organization, and it could come within the ability of growth. It could come within the ability of changing things around. And that's what companies are looking to do, right? Have a population of people who know more about what they're doing and their expertise, and can be moved and adjusted and really driven to help support the business where needed.
So I'm going to follow up on my flex question as far as flex scheduling is concerned, because I think, and you're in this, so but from my perspective, I think we see, mainly with the Gen Zers and some of the younger millennials, they want flexibility in scheduling. Mm-hmm. So are industries creating more flexible scheduling for their employees? Talk about that a little bit.
Yes, I think it depends on the industry specifically. Mm-hmm. You'll see some of that in the hospitality industry, service industry. They're doing a lot of that flexible scheduling, actually now offering some opportunities where you can just, have an app, and then if you want to, it's the gig economy, right? It's booming still.
Like an Uber driver.
Hey, I want to do Uber, or I want to pick up a shift at a bar. There's some bars that are doing this if you have that specialized skill in bartending, and that's very prevalent. But I think, in manufacturing, we still have the same kind of expectations that you come, you work, you do this, that. We just don't have that ability unless you're driven off customers like, oh, I need 6 people today. Can you go ahead and queue people in? But also you have to have this skill. You have to make sure you're safety trained. I think there's some standards around manufacturing that we have to make sure we're continuing to control some of that. Whereas we are seeing that flexibility that's much more prevalent in the hospitality service industry.
Fantastic. Talk about some of the trends that industries are adopting now to work, around some of the HR, I don't want to say issues, but, some of the needs that are required from human resources.
Yeah, so I just came from a conference, the SHRM Talent 25 conference out of Nashville, and it was phenomenal. It was filled with a lot of industry things that are happening, some keeping us up to speed on what's happening within a talent space in today's market. And a lot of companies are adopting AI in the HR space. Mm-hmm. They realize that, okay, I want my HR people in front of people and not behind a desk 24/7. And so the only way to make that happen is, how do we automate some of the work that we do? We're used to shuffling 100 papers a day, right? Trying to get stuff manually entered, where nowadays you can go into an app, you can click the link. If you want your direct deposit changed, you go in there and you change your direct deposit at the right numbers, and it feeds into a system. HR cross checks to make sure everything looks right. So that we can pay you properly, right? But, that takes away from me having to go take an employee a piece of paper, then me taking that paper back to my desk, but also saying, oh, I also need a voided check. Yeah. And then you got to go home, get the voided check. Then the next day you bring me the voided check. Then now I'm finally checking off things. Oh, you missed the number.
Yeah.
So now I got to go back, so there's a lot of automation that's taking place and AI tools that are being used to help really streamline the HR processes that helps us move the needle on the things that are important, like employee engagement, like workforce planning, like making sure we're in those meetings and we're at the table and giving the insight that really takes key to the employee population. There's also a piece around empathy, right? A lot of training and development on empathetic leadership.
Yeah.
I think that's key today. People are very different. The old timers are like, well, I did this and, blah, blah, blah. But
you show up and give me a full day's work for a full day's pay. I don't care about your personal problems.
Yes, you got it. And today, people are people. Yeah. Everybody's got something.
Yeah.
And so how do we make sure that we are working with our people? We're taking that into consideration. And we're just supporting the people to make sure we're driving the right. I think that's key to retention. I think that's key to engagement, right? If I know that Jim cares about me, I'm going to show up for Jim every day.
Yeah. Well, that's culture.
Yes.
And culture always wins.
Correct.
So creating a good culture, and it all starts at HR. I mean, the onboarding process is probably the most important process of any person's tenure at any industry, because that sets the tone for what it's going to be like into the future.
Yes.
And and we all know that onboarding costs money, and it's a big process to bring someone on and hire them and get them, because you all those things you just mentioned, that's required for every employee.
Yes. Yes.
So
and Jim, you'd be surprised how many people, they started a company and they're running around like a chicken with their head cut off, or they're just sent out to the floor or just sent to a desk to start working, and they're like, where's the training and development, right? And so that's why I think onboarding is key to making sure that, that's the first perspective that people have on the organization. And how do you get that right the first time?
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm going to shift gears a little bit because, as you know, Kentucky has legalized medical marijuana, and there are other states that have done this as well. So talk about how medical marijuana is going to have an impact on the industries. What are some of the things that are going to, obviously you don't want people working heavy equipment, but what's going to happen with all this?
So, I think from a medical marijuana perspective, honestly, a lot of companies have started to, obsolete the THC testing in the pre-employment process.
They've done what?
Obsoleted it.
Okay.
They're not testing for THC anymore.
You.
And a part of that is because it's becoming, legal across different states and federally and some of these other things. Federally, it's not legal, but, from there are some thoughts that, it may trickle into a federal approval to make it legal. And so as a part of that, I think that, we have to take into consideration and be mindful of, hey, what is the right things that we're driving, states. I have a location in New York, right? You can, it's legal in New York, but you can't come to work smelling like it. You may be high when you show up to work. We don't know. We can't tell that unless we have some reasonable suspicion that tells us you are not capable of performing the essential functions of the job. And so I think we're just going to follow some of those same processes around, hey, it's medically legal. However, it's a requirement of the employer that you don't come to work high, right? And so, and at the end of the day, there's still those reasonable suspicion items that we have to follow when we feel that someone is not capable of performing the essential functions of the job.
So, and on some medications you see, do not operate heavy machinery or equipment. I'm sure those are the same types of disclaimers that are going to be used with medical marijuana. Are you seeing, at least in Kentucky, now that it's become medically legal, are you seeing any employees, and I don't, obviously you can't say names and things like that, but are you starting to see people that are impaired in the workforce, or is it so far so good?
Yeah, so far so good. I think it's not really been prevalent around issues. I haven't heard a lot in our area, at least, around, hey, we're having this issue with people coming to work high or smelling like it. I think the same standards are still in place.
Well, if
right?
they're smelling like it, then they're illegal, because
Correct.
in Kentucky it's no smoke, it's only edibles. So
yes,
that's something to keep in mind. And I think a lot of people don't realize that either, is that when the legislature passed medical marijuana, I can't tell you how many people I talked to said, man, there's just going to be smoking weed in the streets. Not really, because it's edibles. It's not smoke.
Right.
So
there's some control there.
Yeah,
right?
there is some control there. And there needs to be. And, of course, keep in mind, if you do have a medical marijuana card under federal law, you're not allowed to own any firearms. So
interesting. Okay.
Just FYI.
Thank you.
Most people don't realize that, though, but that's a true statement under federal law. If you have a medical marijuana card, you're technically breaking the law, federal law, because it's not legal.
Yes.
From a national standpoint.
Yep.
So tell us about how people can get involved in SHRM. I'm sure you're always looking to grow your organization.
Yes, we are. So different ways to get involved in SHRM is you can check out our website at midsouth.shrm.org.
And we'll put a link in our show notes for that too. So.
Awesome. And then we also are on LinkedIn, where we're driving some different membership initiatives, just making sure that we can continue to grow our members. We have 30 plus active members today.
Awesome.
And we're wanting to continue to just get out in the community, continue to show what we have to offer. We're looking at some community outreach initiatives to really get out in some of the surrounding counties and areas to just show that we are here. We have an opportunity and we offer some great educational opportunities and a good collaboration and a good community of people just come together and drive the right initiatives.
That's fantastic. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
You are the HR director at Vybond in Franklin. They recently switched names from Berry, and they make tape products down there.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about some of the things that are happening there, because I know it's a big shift here in the last few months, but things are still moving full steam ahead.
Yes, things are moving well. So we launched Vybond on February 3rd as its own business away from Berry Global, previously known as Berry Plastics. Right. A lot of people know that our Franklin, Kentucky location that make tape right out, right there in town is it has a long standing there, been there since 1957, right, and has been operating ever since. People have grandparents and great grandparents that worked for Kendall back in the day, right? And so we are in a very exciting time, Jim. And so, we're growing the business. We're moving our corporate headquarters right into the Franklin, Kentucky location,
awesome.
Where all the executives will sit. We'll continue to drive our operations and making tape out of this location. And so today we have about 570 employees. As we continue to grow and develop, we're probably going to see that number increase a bit. But we're just really excited about driving our own business, driving our own culture, driving our own initiatives, and supporting our employees across. We don't just have Franklin; we have Bristol, Rhode Island, Riverhead, New York. All are key to the business in itself.
And we won't talk about the name brands of tape, but you see them in all the stores.
Correct. Yes, you do.
And it's exciting. Of course, John Baker is working out there, who's a local guy, and we know John and are good friends with him. So.
Yes, he's the COO. I report into John. So, yeah.
Awesome. So anyhow, well, we've covered a lot of ground about Mid-South SHRM, some of the challenges, and also talk about some of the good things that are going to be happening in the future as far as the HR profession.
Yes, so we have a lot of good things going on. We're driving a lot of good programs. Like I said, I know we're posting stuff on LinkedIn in reference to just how to get involved, how to get engaged, different educational opportunities and tips, and different quotes and things that are happening from our members and our board members. And so in HR, there's going to be a lot of push around leveraging technology, right? And so a lot of our programs have been surrounding how to be a better and stronger strategic HR leader, how to leverage technology, how to make sure you're getting the right data to make data-driven decision making. And those things I think are going to be key, Jim, for us to continue to elevate as an HR profession and for us to drive in the right. It's happening, right? AI is taking over, and we have to understand how AI plus HI equals the initiatives and goals that we're trying to achieve.
Right, what's HI?
HI is that human intelligence.
Okay.
So you have that artificial intelligence plus that human intelligence, right? Because you can have
obviously I don't have it.
You can have all this AI stuff, but if there's no human intelligence that's helping implement it, helping control it, it's not going to be successful. And so they both are kind of joined together to drive the right initiatives for the businesses.
Fantastic. Well, sounds like a lot of great things are happening with the Mid-South SHRM and just with industries growing in this region as a whole.
Yes.
So, that's going to obviously create challenges, but lots of opportunities as well.
Absolutely.
And so, sounds like great things are happening. Thank you for being on the DeCesare Group Podcast.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it.
Thanks again to John Oliver, president of the Mid-South SHRM chapter, for joining us on this week's episode of the DeCesare Group Podcast, and thank you for checking us out. If you like what you hear, share it with a friend, and don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, leave us a review, and share your feedback with us. You can also follow the DeCesare Group across all of our social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, X, and YouTube. The DeCesare Group Podcast is produced by the DeCesare Group, a public relations and consulting firm based in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Our engineer and head of HR at the DeCesare Group is Justin DeCesare, with content contributions from Brooke Mattingly. Our writer and producer is Amy DeCesare. I'm Jim DeCesare, and join us again next time for the DeCesare Group Podcast.